he will corrupt them. You are a saint. You are a child yourself. Save them. Snatch them from that. It is shameful. Oh, help them. God will repay you 100-fold. For the love of God, for the love of Christ." "Speak, Ivan Fedorovitch, what are we to do?" cried Lizabetha Prokofievna irritably. "Please break your majestic silence. I tell you, if you cannot come to some decision, I will stay here all night myself. You have tyrannized over me enough, you autocrat." She spoke angrily and in great excitement, and expected an immediate reply. But in such a case, no matter how many are present, all prefer to keep silence. No one will take the initiative, but all reserve their comments till afterwards. There were some present, Varvara Ardalionovna, for instance, who would have willingly sat there till morning without saying a word. Varvara had sat apart all the evening without opening her lips, but she listened to everything with the closest attention. Perhaps she had her reasons for so doing. "My dear," said the general, "it seems to me that a sick nurse would be of more use here than an excitable person like you. Perhaps it would be as well to get some sober, reliable man for the night. In any case, we must consult the prince, and leave the patient to rest at once. Tomorrow we can see what can be done for him." "It is nearly midnight. We are going. Will he come with us, or is he to stay here?" Doktorenko asked crossly of the prince. "You can stay with him if you like," said Muishkin. "There is plenty of room here." Suddenly, to the astonishment of all, Keller went quickly up to the general. "Excellency," he said impulsively, "if you want a reliable man for the night, I am ready to sacrifice myself for my friend. Such a soul as he has! I have long thought him a great man, Excellency. My article showed my lack of education, but when he criticizes, he scatters pearls." Ivan Fedorovitch turned from the boxer with a gesture of despair. "I shall be delighted if he will stay. It would certainly be difficult for him to get back to Petersburg," said the prince, in answer to the eager questions of Lizabetha Prokofievna. "But you are half asleep, are you not? If you don't want him, I will take him back to my house. Why, good gracious, he can hardly stand up himself. What is it? Are you ill?" Not finding the prince on his deathbed, Lizabetha Prokofievna had been misled by his appearance to think him much better than he was. But his recent illness, the painful memories attached to it, the fatigue of this evening, the incident with Pavlicheff's son, and now this scene with Hippolyte, had all so worked on his oversensitive nature that he was now almost in a fever. Moreover, a new trouble, almost a fear, showed itself in his eyes. He watched Hippolyte anxiously, as if expecting something further. Suddenly Hippolyte arose. His face, shockingly pale, was that of a man overwhelmed with shame and despair. This was shown chiefly in the look of fear and hatred which he cast upon the assembled company, and in the wild smile upon his trembling lips. Then he cast down his eyes, and with the same smile staggered towards Burdovsky and Doktorenko, who stood at the entrance to the veranda. He had decided to go with them. "There, that is what I feared," cried the prince. "It was inevitable." Hippolyte turned upon him, a prey to maniacal rage, which set all the muscles of his face quivering. "Ah, this is what you feared! It was inevitable, you say? Well, let me tell you that if I hate anyone here, I hate you all," he cried in a hoarse, strained voice. "But you with your Jesuitical soul, your soul of sickly sweetness, idiot, beneficent millionaire, I hate you worse than anything or anyone on earth. I saw through you and hated you long ago, from the day I first heard of you. I hated you with my whole heart. You have contrived all this. You have driven me into this state. You have made a dying man disgrace himself. You are the cause of my abject cowardice. I would kill you if I remained alive. I do not want your benefits. I will accept none from anyone, do you hear? Not from anyone. I want nothing. I was delirious. Do not dare to triumph. I curse every one of you, once for all." Breath failed him here, and he was obliged to stop. "He is ashamed of his tears," whispered Lebedeff to Lizabetha Prokofievna. "It was inevitable. Ah, what a wonderful man the prince is! He read his very soul." But Mrs. Epanchin would not deign to look at Lebedeff. Drawn up haughtily, with her head held high, she gazed at the riff-raff with scornful curiosity. When Hippolyte had finished, Ivan Fedorovitch shrugged his shoulders, and his wife looked him angrily up and down, as if to demand the meaning of this movement. Then she turned to the prince. "Thanks, prince, many thanks, eccentric friend of the family, for the pleasant evening you have provided for us. I am sure you are quite pleased that you have managed to mix us up with your extraordinary affairs. It is quite enough, dear family friend. Thank you for giving us an opportunity of getting to know you so well." She arranged her cloak with hands that trembled with anger as she waited for the riff-raff to go. The cab which Lebedeff's son had gone to fetch a quarter of an hour ago by Doktorenko's order arrived at that moment. The general thought fit to put in a word after his wife. "Really, prince, I hardly expected after all our friendly intercourse. And you see, Lizabetha Prokofievna—" "Papa, how can you?" cried Adelaida, walking quickly up to the prince and holding out her hand. He smiled absently at her. Then suddenly he felt a burning sensation in his ear as an angry voice whispered: "If you do not turn those dreadful people out of the house this very instant, I shall hate you all my life, all my life." It was Aglaya. She seemed almost in a frenzy, but she turned away before the prince could look at her. However, there was no one left to turn out of the house, for they had managed meanwhile to get Hippolyte into the cab, and it had driven off. "Well, how much longer is this going to last, Ivan Fedorovitch? What do you think? Shall I soon be delivered from these odious youths?" "My dear, I'm quite ready, naturally. The prince—" Ivan Fedorovitch held out his hand to Muishkin, but ran after his wife, who was leaving with every sign of violent indignation before he had time to shake it. Adelaida, her fiancée, and Alexandra said goodbye to their host with sincere friendliness. Evgenie Pavlovitch did the same, and he alone seemed in good spirits. "What I expected has happened. But I am sorry, you poor fellow, that you should have had to suffer for it," he murmured, with a most charming smile.